He kept his hands off women for 20 years until she made him break. Every rule asterisk, the first shot cracked through the dry air like a whip across raw skin, jolting me from the haze of my midday chores. I froze in the barn's dim light, hay fork still gripped in my calloused hands, heart slamming against my ribs like a trapped coyote. 20 years on, this godforsaken ranch in Dusty Hollow, and I'd learned to tell the difference between a hunter's rifle and trouble. This was trouble sharp, deliberate, closing in fast. I dropped the fork and bolted for the door, my boots kicking up dust that hung thick in the relentless Arizona sun. Through the weathered fence, I spotted her, a woman, disheveled and wild-eyed, clinging to the gate like it was her last lifeline. Her horse was lathered in sweat, flanks heaving, and she was fumbling with a revolver that looked too heavy for her slender hands. Behind her, a dust cloud swirled on the horizon, and I could make out the silhouettes of riders 3, maybe 4 galloping hard, their shouts carried on the wind like distant thunder. "Help," she cried, her voice cutting through the chaos, laced with an accent that hinted at Eastern refinement mixed with trail-hardened grit. "Please, they're coming." I hadn't spoken to a soul in weeks, let alone a woman. Not since Mary, God rest her, slipped away in that fevered nightmare 2 decades back. I'd built walls around my heart thicker than the adobe ones around my spread, vowing to keep my hands off anything that could stir up the ghosts. Women were complications, soft edges that cut deeper than any blade. But there she was, this stranger with auburn hair spilling from under a battered hat. Her dress torn at the hem, eyes locking onto mine with a desperation that punched me square in the gut. I swung the gate open, my voice gravelly from disuse. "Get inside, quick." She didn't hesitate, urging her horse through as another shot rang out, splintering the post beside us. Wood chips flew like shrapnel, and I yanked her down from the saddle, shielding her with my body as we hit the dirt. Her scent hit me then, wild sage and faint lavender, a reminder of mornings long gone when Mary would braid her hair by the firelight. It twisted something inside me, an ache I'd buried so deep I'd forgotten how it burned. "Who the hell are they?" I growled, peering over the fence. The riders were closer now, hats low, bandanas pulled high. Outlaws by the look-mean sons of bitches with rifles slung across their saddles. "Harlan Blackwood's men?" she gasped, her breath hot against my neck as we crouched. I crossed him in Silver Gulch. He thinks I stole something from him. Stole? My mind raced. Dusty Hollow wasn't on any map worth a damn, but word traveled fast in these parts about feuds and grudges. Harlan Blackwood was a name whispered in saloons from Tucson to Tombstone, cattle baron with a temper like a rattlesnake and a habit of making examples out of anyone who crossed his path. If this woman had tangled with him, she was either brave or foolish. In either way, she dragged his wrath right to my doorstep. I grabbed my Winchester from the barn wall, the familiar weight grounding me. "Stay down," I ordered, chambering around. The lead rider fired again, the bullet whining past my ear. I returned fire, the recoil kicking like an old friend, and heard a yelp as one of them clutched his arm, wheeling his horse away, but they didn't back off. The group fanned out, circling the perimeter like wolves scenting blood. I pulled the woman Amelia. She'd mutter her name laddered deeper into the barn, barricading the door with a hay bale. Her hand trembled in mine, soft yet strong, and for a split second, I felt that forbidden pull like a river current tugging at a dammed-up soul. "Why here?" I demanded, my eyes scanning the shadows for any back way in. "Why my ranch?" She met my gaze, those green eyes fierce despite the fear. "I heard about you in town. Elias Thorne, the man who tamed the wildest herd in the territory. They said you were fair, and alone. I thought maybe you'd understand running from demons. The word hung between us like smoke. I'd been running from my own since Mary's grave grew cold under the mesquite tree. 20 years of solitude, mending fences and tending cattle, convincing myself that isolation was peace. But now, with bullets pinging off the tin roof and this woman's warmth pressed close in the dim light, cracks were forming in my resolve. A shout from outside snapped me back. "Come out, Thorne. Hand over the girl, and we'll leave you be." I recognized the voice. Jake Harlan, Blackwood's right-hand man, a weaselly bastard with a scar across his cheek from some bar fight gone wrong. He'd ridden through Dusty Hollow before, eyeing my land like it was his for the taking. Blackwood had been pushing to buy up spreads like mine, whispering about hidden water rights or silver veins beneath the soil. I'd turned him down flat, but now it seemed he'd found a new way to pressure me. Amelia clutched my arm. "Don't, they'll kill you too." Her touch sent a jolt through me, awakening feelings I'd sworn off. Mary's memory flashed, her laughter echoing across the prairie, her hand in mine as we danced under starlit skies. I'd loved her with every fiber, and losing her had hollowed me out. No woman since, no temptations. Rules I'd etched into my soul. Keep your distance, guard your heart, survive alone. But Amelia's eyes held a mirror to my pain, shared understanding that made my chest tighten. I shook it off, focusing on the threat. "Stay here," I whispered, slipping out a side door. The sun blinded me momentarily, but I crouched low, moving along the corral where my cattle lowed nervously. Sensing the storm, Jake and his crew, 3 now. One nursing a wound, were dismounting, guns drawn. I flanked them from behind a water trough, heart pounding. "This is my land, Harlan," I bellowed. "Ride out, or I'll drop you where you stand." Laughter erupted from them. Big words from a hermit. Jake sneered. "Blackwood wants his property back, the map that bitch stole. And your spread? Consider it collateral. Map." So that's what this was about. Rumors had swirled in town about old Spanish claims to gold in these hills. If Amelia had something tying Blackwood to it, no wonder he was hunting her like a prize buck. I fired a warning shot at their feet, dirt exploding. They scattered, returning fire wildly. One bullet grazed my shoulder, hot pain searing like a brand. I gritted my teeth, rolling behind a post, and squeezed off 2 more rounds. One hit a man's leg, dropping him with a howl. In the chaos, Amelia burst from the barn, revolver blazing. "Get away from him," she screamed, her shot clipping Jake's hat clean off. "Damn fool, woman!" Admiration mixed with fury as I tackled her out of the line of fire, our bodies tumbling into the dust. Her hair fell across my face, soft as silk, and for a heartbeat. Time stopped, the world narrowing to her ragged breaths. Her curves pressed against me. "Stirring a fire I'd doused long ago. You trying to get killed?" I rasped, pinning her down as bullets whizzed overhead. "Better than hiding," she shot back, eyes blazing. There it was, that spark, challenging my every rule. Mary's spirit had been gentle, nurturing. Amelia's was wildfire, demanding I wake from my self-imposed grave. The remaining outlaws regrouped. But a new sound cut through, hooves thundering from the east. Relief washed over me as old Tom Wilkins, my nearest neighbor, a grizzled prospector with a shotgun and a grudge against Blackwood, drove in with his son. Young Billy, rifles at the ready. "Get off Thorn's land, you varmints." Tom bellowed, firing into the air. Jake cursed, mounting up with his wounded. "This ain't over, Thorn. Blackwood'll have your head in hers." They retreated in a cloud of dust, leaving me bleeding and breathless. Amelia pushed up, her hands gentle as she tore a strip from her dress to bind my wound. "Thank you," she murmured, fingers brushing my skin, sending shivers that had nothing to do with pain. Tom dismounted, eyeing us with a knowing grin. "Looks like you got yourself a Spitfire there, Elias." "Been a while since I seen you riled up, Billy." All of 18 with freckles and wide eyes nodded. "Pa says you used to be a legend with that rifle." "Glad we heard the shots from our claim." I waved them off, but inside turmoil churned. Tom's words stung legend. I'd been a rancher, a husband, before grief turned me inward. And now, with Amelia's touch lingering like a promise, I felt the walls cracking as the sun dipped lower, casting long shadows over the corral. We gathered in my sparse cabin. Tom and Billy stayed for coffee, their presence a rare comfort. Tom spun yarns about Blackwood's shady deals, how he'd swindled folks out of water rights, leaving families destitute. That map she took? Probably proof of his claim jumping. "You're in deep now, Elias." Amelia sat quietly, sipping from a tin mug, her story unfolding in fits. She'd come west from Boston after her husband's death in a mill accident, seeking a fresh start as a school teacher in Silver Gulch. But Blackwood had eyes on her, offering protection that turned possessive. When she discovered his forged maps in his office, evidence of land grabs, she'd snatched one and fled, hoping to expose him to the marshal. "I didn't mean to bring this to you," she said softly, her voice trembling. "But when I heard about your ranch, about a man who'd lost everything yet kept going, I thought maybe you'd see the fight in me." Her words pierced me. Lost everything. Mary's fever had come sudden, ravaging her in days. I had held her as she faded, promising to join her soon, but life clung stubborn. The ranch became my penance, each mended fence a barrier against feeling again. Yet here was Amelia, awakening echoes of love, not replacing Mary, but reminding me that hearts could mend, scarred but whole. Tom clapped my back. "You need allies, son. Blackwood's got pull with the sheriff. We'll spread word in town, rally some folks." Billy nodded eagerly. "I can ride to the marshal's office tomorrow, Pa." Their loyalty warmed me, a reminder that even in isolation, threads connected us. As they rode off into the twilight, Amelia and I were alone, the cabin's lantern casting flickering gold on her face. "You're hurt," she said, reaching for my bandaged shoulder. "It's nothing," but her concern stirred me. A gentle pull against my rules. She stepped closer, eyes searching mine. "Why do you live like this, Elias? Alone, pushing everyone away?" I turned away, staring at the faded photograph of Mary on the mantel. "Love breaks you. I won't go through that again." Her hand on my arm turned me back. "But hiding isn't living. I know I hid in grief too, until I realized fighting for what's right. That's how we honor the lost." Our gazes locked, the air thick with unspoken longing. Her lips parted slightly, and for a mad second I imagined closing the distance, tasting the forbidden. But I pulled back, heart racing. "You should rest." "Bunks in the back?" She nodded, disappointment flickering, but as she walked away, swaying with quiet grace, curiosity burned in me. What secrets did that map hold? Would Blackwood strike again? And worst, could I keep my hands and heart off this woman who'd shattered my solitude in a single afternoon? Sleep evaded me that night, the wind howling like accusing ghosts. I lay on the floor by the fire, rifle close, mind replaying her touch, her fire. 20 years of rules crumbling like dry earth under rain. Amelia Hayes had ridden into my life like a storm. I sensed the deluge was just beginning. The next morning dawned crisp, the sky a vast blue canvas over the rugged hills. I rose early, tending the cattle to clear my head. My herd 60 strong, descendants of the stock Mary and I had started with, grazed peacefully, oblivious to the upheaval. Their lowing grounded me, a rhythm as steady as my heartbeat. Amelia emerged from the cabin, hair braided neatly, carrying a pail of water she'd drawn herself. "Let me help," she insisted, her smile tentative but warm. I watched her move among the chores, efficient and uncomplaining. She mended a loose board on the fence with surprising skill, humming a tune that sounded like an old folk song from the Appalachians. It tugged at memories of Mary singing while churning butter. But Amelia's voice was huskier, laced with resilience born from her own losses.